Hi, everyone. I'm Kathryn Rose. I am the CEO and founder of channelWise. At channelWise, we provide on-demand expert advice for the channel. We know the channel, we know the challenges, and our team of been there, done that experts are dedicated to helping partners go farther faster. Today, we are welcoming Greg Plum, the founder of Plum UC and director with PartnerReady, an ecosystem partnership advisory firm. Welcome, Greg.
Hey, Kathryn, how are you?
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm doing great today. And I just
Awesome.
wanted to give our audience a little bit of insight into you and your company and a little bit about your journey.
Sure. Well, it's been a wild one. It's not been a straight path, that's for sure. I've been in the channel. We say that we've been in the channel for 23 years at this point. And it's certainly different than it was back then. I started out with a little communications company, a conferencing company. And at that point, the funny thing is I had never even been on a conference call. I thought, let me just give this a shot and see how it is. And then it got in my blood. I love small business. I loved how scrappy it was. I love the space. I love the technology, how fast it was changing. But I discovered right quick that I was not a very good direct salesperson. And I heard about this thing called channel. And somehow it was like this black box that sales just came out of. Okay, it's so not like that. But that's what I was anticipating. So I dug in a little bit and discovered the concept of what we were calling, indirect channel back then, and alternate channel. But basically, I discovered really the power of relationships and what it did to help build that business. And I've stayed in it ever since. And then after several, channel head opportunities, I broke out on my own. And now we're talking about ecosystems in addition to channel, and it's a ton of fun.
I know today we're going to talk a little bit about, obviously, we're going to focus on this whole idea of an ecosystem, right? And so
Yep.
I've been in the channel, for a while myself.
Yep.
And ecosystem is now that new buzzword, it almost to me like it was before it was VARs, right? Value-added resellers, then it was SP, solution providers, then it's MSP, now MMS, SSP, agents, sub-agents, like there's all these different words. But the channel has always sort of been the channel, right?
Yep.
But now it seems that everyone's using this ecosystem word, and partners are like, I don't even know what that means. And I like for us, like, should we change our name to ecosystem wise instead of channel wise, right? So I guess I would like to just ask you, from your perspective, someone who has kind of seen all of these iterations, why ecosystem, and what exactly is it, and why should any of us care?
Well, first off, I wouldn't change the name of channelWise. I love it. It kind of rolls off the tongue way easier than ecosystem-wise. Well, the thing is this: think of an ecosystem is basically an environment, right? So, the classic definition of an ecosystem is when you walk into the woods and everything basically around you, and all the little life forms that are there from, everything that you touch or you can see. So this is not unlike that in any way. The channel, a channel partner, whatever flavor they take, is a part of that ecosystem, one part. So, you have, solution providers and, MSPs and VARs. They are all different, again, flavors of partners based on their business model, yet they are still one player. They are one part of that larger world that really encompasses the customer. So why it's important is to understand that, look, I'm going to have a direct relationship with my customer. So that relationship is there. That's that one-to-one. But isn't it stronger if I understand everything that's impacting my customer? That's the ecosystem, all the different players that are really swirling around that they work with on a daily basis. Those are all centers of influence. It would be silly to ignore them and just think that my relationship with my customer is the most important one to them.
Right. I think I understand what you're saying. So it was, years ago, everyone was talking about the customer journey, and that, more than 6 people were involved at any, given time throughout the process. But they were really talking about people inside the company, right? Inside the end user. So it wasn't just the CIO that would make the decision. It was, could be HR, it could be accounting. There's a whole bunch of different people, right?
Yep.
I think what you're saying now is it goes even farther, that it's not only people inside the company, but other potential providers of services that are around, that surround that customer who could also be part of the decision. Is that what you mean?
It's that plus all the other influences with them. Think about it this way, the CR, the end customer, a partner's end customer, that CRO or the CIO, whomever they're selling into, they're impacted by influencers, bloggers, they belong to organizations, they're in marketplaces potentially, they buy other software, they work with other consultants. That to me is why it's so critical. A channel partner or a channel is not an ecosystem. They're different, and it's being used, the E word, I call it, is kind of being used, overused, and it's almost being, the importance is lessened if we say the channel is an ecosystem. It is so not an ecosystem. The channel is one part of the ecosystem. It's an important one. I mean, look, we live in it. We love it, and it certainly pays the bills and is a lot of fun. But it's just one small part of the ecosystem. Understanding the power of it and your place, the partner's place in the ecosystem, is so much more powerful, and is going to help them identify various routes to market into that ideal customer profile.
I
Make
love it.
sense?
No, it definitely does make sense. It's much more clear now. And I think, for a lot of folks, they've said to me, well, we see some of these channel chief changing their name, changing their titles to, chief ecosystem officer. But what it sounds to me like you're saying is the channel, the IT channel in and of itself is not what you would classify as an ecosystem. It's part of the larger picture. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. I mean,
And,
it
and,
is
and
that
you mentioned too,
environment.
oh, at the environment. Yeah. And you mentioned
Correct.
too about, about different routes to market. So now that
Yeah.
we understand a little bit more about what actually this whole idea of an ecosystem is, how can MSPs, VARs, what have you, partners, how can they leverage it to grow their business with their customers?
Well, so once you identify your ideal customer profile, and it might be a couple of them, maybe you focus on healthcare, you focus on accounting, wherever you're focusing your practice, once you understand who that is, who else, what are they buying, who are they buying from, when are they buying, why are they buying, how are they buying? Those are the questions to ask. As soon as you can answer those questions, you're not the only game in town. You're not the only one in their wallet. You want to find out everybody that's influencing them. And then what you're doing is striking up a relationship with these. It's much more of a matrixed environment. It's no more the one-to-one, me to my customer, and then knowing some other things are out there. But it's knowing everyone that has influence with them, and then working directly with those other influencers to strengthen your position with the customer.
So it sounds like it's a much more strategic and perhaps even more complicated sales environment, right? I mean, when you're talking about, if I'm a partner out there and I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, okay, I have this relationship with my customer, but what you're saying is we need to almost take a step back and say, not only what is my value proposition, but how does my value impact or influence or complement all the other pieces and parts, right?
I love it. Yes, and one of the things that, kind of an image that I use is I say, open the aperture, right? We're so focused sometimes on our little piece. If we step back, open the aperture, it's amazing what you see. We will have, at PartnerReady, we'll have clients come to us and say, okay, build us a partner program. It's like, okay, time out. Let's figure out exactly what we want. There are many, many questions we need to answer in order to do that effectively. I mean, Kat, if you're going in and trying to build a program, you're going to spend 18 months, from zero to any kind of movement of the needle, you're looking at 18 months. And a lot of CEOs and CROs get impatient with that. So what we want to do is we be much more strategic and create a plan. You would never create a business without a plan. Why in the world would you create a partner program without a plan? That's exactly what this is all about.
And really, I mean, even from the vendor perspective, like you were just saying, the vendors have to also understand that they are just one piece of the solution. And specifically now with marketplaces and everything else, I mean, partners are getting, multiple pieces of the solution and bringing it to their end customer. So, if I'm a vendor or a supplier or whatever you want, those are many names of that as well.
Yep.
What are those, what are things that they need to be thinking about when they're, as you mentioned, like standing up a partner program, or let's say they want to expand They've kind of stuck their toe into the channel, figure out, hey, this can be a good route to market. What are different things that they can think about, in terms of this ecosystem model to also leverage and grow their business?
It's using the exact same analysis, and it really isn't complicated. It's trying to figure out. So if you're talking about, these software, I work mostly with either partners or SaaS companies. So SaaS founders and CROs I work with quite a bit. So a SaaS founder is not going to be unlike, an enterprise supplier. Think of the big cybersecurity companies we have out that are gaining in popularity for obvious reasons. But it's the mindset is very similar. The tag is saying, okay, who is my target for my direct business? And then once you identify everybody that's in that circle, it's up to the suppliers. So the supplier's responsibility. And that's what the partner team should be doing, right? On the partner side, and this could be a whole other hour we could talk about, once you say, I'm going to build a partner team, a partner program, I need a team. Well, there's really two functions within that. There's the BD side of it, the business development. Okay, now I need to go find, the right type of partner that fits my model, or we have a mutually beneficial model where we work together. We have alignment. And then once you have that, it's a different skill set to care, nurture, and feed that relationship and turn it into something that's going to really grow and move the needle. But large enterprise, SaaS company, smaller SaaS company, they all have the same challenge. It's figuring out who has influence with that end customer. And once they identify that, you now have a new look at it this way. What if you have, an MSP is working with an accounting firm, right? That's their sweet spot. They focus on finance and accountants. Well, once they identify other influencers, chances are there's going to be some there's going to be some common links there. And they're going to say, guess what? This company works with so many of my accounting customers. Why would I not work with them directly and find a way to kind of lock arms and go to market together, thereby increasing their influence, not just with this customer, but all the other customers that consultant or that firm has?
So it's really obviously, when you're talking about any kind of an ecosystem or, even the word partner, it's all about relationships.
Totally.
And you
100%.
and I know that very, very well. And
thank God for it. That's what I've made my career on.
Yeah,
I love that.
exactly.
That's my favorite part of it.
And so, yeah, I think that's really, when you sort of boil it down, there's a couple things from what I'm hearing you say. Is one, you have to know your ideal customer, right? And not only who they are, but who else they're buying from.
Absolutely.
And as a vendor, you have to know the same thing. Who's my ideal partner, right? But at the end of the day, you have to know your ideal customer too, because somebody's buying your product.
That's right. Yeah.
And then all the other pieces and parts that go around it. But then at the end of the day, you have to build and maintain those relationships to make something more productive and profitable over the long haul.
Absolutely. And think of it, it's a matrix. It's a matrix. It's always more stable when you have these multiple points of contact with these intersecting lines. It's more complicated. It's funny because there are now, you've heard of, obviously there's CRMs out there, and now there are PRMs to manage partnerships. There's actually, we're working with a company called Pronto, and it's specifically focusing on ecosystem management, because it has these many points. Attribution is much more difficult when you have many players, many hands in the pot, if you will, supporting that end customer, just to make sure things are properly credited, I guess, to the selling and supporting party.
Right. Yeah, that's important, because that's how everyone gets paid, right?
Yes, and the quickest way to kill your channel program is to miss a payment.
Quickest way to kill any relationship, right?
That's exactly right.
It's all about expectations. You know what I mean? So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your experience in the channel, obviously, and now in ecosystems, or the evolution of the ecosystem. What are you seeing for trends? What can we look forward to in the next maybe 2 to 5 years?
Well, you see, there's a ton of M&A going on. There's a lot of shrinking in the channel, and I'm not going to say that shrinking of actual. I don't know, what we're doing in the way of dollars. I would say that's most likely growing because tech spend is way up. I'm not sure what's shifting between direct sales and channel. I know channel has always been a significant portion of the revenue, so you certainly can't ignore it. As far as a trend though, with these technology distributors, which is obviously a new term, the big three, there's several. I've worked with them through the years. Love kind of the model because it's a leveraged approach. A small company can get in there and actually, get access to a sales force of thousands, without too heavy of a lift. It's not like taking candy from a baby, don't get me wrong, because it's about awareness, and it's a very crowded space from a solution standpoint and a software standpoint. But that is one way to market, getting through these. And I think that's going to continue. I feel like the strength of these technology distributors, the Avants, Teleris, and Telesis, I think they're going to continue to grow. They're getting funded now, so that's a little bit different. They used to be, privately held, and now they're seeing, investors are seeing these guys are darlings of the industry. But they're also a lightning rod. It's drawing some criticism as well. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here just to say I think they're here, and I think that they deliver value to the space, to the customer, and to the partner. And I think we're going to see more of that. The other thing I think we're going to see in the way of trends is really leveraging systems, more and more leveraging technology, because your point, you said it earlier, and you're right. Relationship to me is king. I feel almost like relationship will never go away, but I feel like it's not as critical as it used to be. The round of golf does not buy you the same thing it used to, or the big steak dinner is not the same as it used to be. That's still going to be a factor. I don't think it's going to be the make or break that it used to be, especially with millennials entering the workforce. Millennials are all about, well, we know what they're all about. Efficiency, sustainability, data. Data is king right now. So data is going to trump, ultimately, I think data is going to trump a relationship. That hurts me to say it, but I think this is just the reality of it. It's certainly going to be more of a factor than it's ever been historically.
So you're saying data is going to be more of a factor. I see that, because obviously people want to see ROI. They want to see, who's seeing my messages, who's buying my stuff. I agree with you that, relationships are so much more than just a round of golf though, right? I mean, it's about, it's about really caring about your customers, your partners, caring about their business, how they're growing, if they're growing, how you can help them do more business, and that's always been, but I hear what you're saying, that it's going to be, especially, if anything, with the pandemic showed us that you can still grow your business at a distance. It doesn't all have to be like the in person. That makes a lot of sense. So
yeah,
well,
it
thank you.
definitely changed. Things have changed since the pandemic, for sure. Way more efficient. I feel way more efficient than I was prior to that. But I also, frankly, I feel a little disconnected. I miss, thank God we're getting back to events, because to me, there's no replacement for that handshake or the hug. It's really what makes the business worth doing.
Oh, no question about it. I agree. I think that it's there is no permanent replacement. I mean, even the metaverse or whatever, like, there's no permanent replacement for the face-to-face, because that really is what builds relationships. But I hear what you're saying, in the long haul, you still have to deliver, right? Like, that's really what folks are looking for. So, well, thank you, Greg. Thank you so much for joining us today and, shining some light. It was educational for me, because I kept saying, well, what is this idea with this ecosystem? So thank you. And if you want some more deeper advice or impact or any information on this specific topic, you can go to Greg's expert profile on channelWise, and the link we'll go ahead and put that link into the post. And if you have any other questions on channels, ecosystems, anything to do with how to grow your business or career in the IT channel, head over to channelwise.com. So we look forward to seeing you all on the next Ask the Expert. And until next time, everyone. Thank you again, Greg.
Thanks, Kat. Talk to you soon.